This
Do
is
it.
Pop
Do it.
Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Giff. Welcome back, fellas.
Yeah,
Our own personal Ryan Gosling, Brian Gifford,
awkward
is here.
pause.
Uh-huh. I look like I'm photoshopped.
It's been a while since we recorded an episode. We might forget how to do it.
Yes, it's been 2 weeks
took
since
a-
our
Took
last
a bye
one.
week.
Yeah.
But the listeners don't even know because there's no
They have
time
no
in
idea.
podcast
Although
land.
they know now.
And we shouldn't have told them.
They don't know that we forgot that we're doing 2011 this month.
We're a little rusty.
Yeah. But we still would really appreciate anybody going on to Twitter or Facebook or Insta or TikTok or our website, Buy Me a Beer. Just reach out. Say, hey, guys, you guys are doing a great job. We love what you're doing. And we have, this to say about it or that, or we really enjoyed that subject. So we always look forward to
Give us
interaction.
a suggestion.
Yeah, for sure. Give us a suggestion. We won't take it, but I think you should give them.
And then tell a friend who likes pop culture to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then tell them to tell two friends, and tell them to tell two friends, and then before you know it, it's like a
We'll have
pyramid
10
scheme.
listeners.
We're gonna be the Ponzi podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
All right,
Wow.
so we are on our second episode of 11. So our
Correct.
first subject
Yes.
tonight of the month is going to be my choice. A crazy little movie, a stupid little movie, a lovely little movie
Could have
that
been my
came
choice
out
too.
in 2011.
God.
Crazy, Stupid Love.
So good.
Oh,
Yeah, so good. This came out July 19th, had a $50 million budget, but raked in $145 million at the box office. So
That's pretty good.
woo.
real good movie. And the cast is phenomenal. But
Top
Great
notch.
cast.
I figured we'd start like we usually do. What are your guys' memories of the first time you watched this movie?
Well, I love this movie. I could have chosen it myself. It would have been one of my top choices. I don't remember a whole lot other than that I do know my wife and I saw it in the movie theater, and we were excited to see it because of the cast. This is Steve Carell coming right off of like big office stuff, and Ryan Gosling, and you get Emma Stone and Julianne Moore and all these people that you like.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin
Yep.
Bacon. It reminded us, or me especially, a lot of Love Actually, which we are enormous fans of, as you might know if you listen to the show, and you can go back and listen to last year's episode on that movie. Just because it had some intertwining stories and not as big of a cast, but there's a lot going on.
Not as
And-
many stories, right? Yeah.
And it was just immediately a movie that we both just fell in love with. And I could watch it all the time. And she watched it with me again in preparation for this, and we just laughed, and she loved it, and so did I.
It was this was actually the first time that I've ever seen the movie. And so I can't say I go back and have a lot of fond memories of it because it was just 2 days ago. But I was thinking of Love Actually as well, but there was a key difference for me in that this one actually had a definable main character. I think Love Actually spreads out the storylines
Mhm.
pretty well. And if you say who's the main character in that movie, it's like, well, yeah, you could name it down to about 4 or 5, but really, but you can't narrow it down to one. This one was primarily about Steve Carell. There were plenty of other things going on and a number of other great characters, but Steve Carell was the main character in this movie, clearly. And I thought this was one, and we've talked about it with Steve Carell. We've talked about it with guys like Jim Carrey too. He showed his full range. He can do comedy, and he can also do a very deep kind of emotional character, which he had that going on in all sort of rolled into this one movie here. And so is there a problem, Brad?
He's
With
so
what I said.
Yeah.
I heard
No,
him. I heard him bitching and moaning about
hit
what
my
I was.
cord of my headphones about jerk him
Oh,
off and
oh.
about.
Well, you did it what now?
Uh-oh, button bar. All
And
right, I'm gonna save that clip and I'm gonna
Yep.
replay it and replay
thought I
it.
was gonna pull it right out of the old
Go.
headphones.
Oh, easy, easy.
Oh man, this episode just went off the rails. Okay.
And then I forgot that my mic was on when I muttered.
Yeah, you got to put it on mute when you do that, Brad. Anywho,
Ooh, boy.
what was I talking about again? But yeah, it had a bunch of really good side characters too, with Julianne Moore and Kevin Bacon, and obviously Ryan Gosling. We all love Ryan Gosling, um, and
He is so perfect in this movie.
Yes.
so was Marissa Tomei also.
That's another one.
So great.
I thought she was great, and even the child actors, the kids in this movie were good, and they had their own kind of deep storylines going on, which we'll get into. And I thought they acted their roles really well. It was a great storyline. I love how they had all their separate kind of storylines, and then they all just kind of tied them together at the end.
Yes.
And I remember, and we can maybe save it here, but like genuinely being surprised at that end scene there, where a lot of it comes together, because
Right.
you don't realize the connection between the
Well,
characters.
and that is a comparison to Love Actually, because the same thing happened in that movie as well, where you didn't realize that, that what was it? Hugh Grant's character was brother and sister to the
Yeah,
other one, and
similar.
it was kind of the same thing. You didn't know how they were all interrelated. Some you did, but not all of them, and it was interesting the way they did it.
Right. Well, and we'll get into that as we get into the movie, but in my notes, I just wrote down magical scene, and it is where everybody comes together, or almost everybody, in this one scene about, I don't know, 25 minutes from the end of the movie. And it's
I
magical.
referred to it as
I
the
thought.
awesome climactic scene,
Yes. So
even though there's more after that.
Oh,
It
for
almost
sure.
had basically two climactic scenes in a
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that. And I thought about that as I was watching it. Anyway, go ahead, Gifford.
So I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I don't remember going to it in the theater, and I doubt that I did in 2011. But I do own this on the DVD, so that is what I watched it on. I just, it's such a wonderful movie. As Pete said, it's got excellent comedy, not just from Carell, but some of the best stuff I think is from Ryan Gosling, and he was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Comedy for this role.
Which one?
Gosling,
Oh, he was really.
yeah. But also so many wonderful scenes between Carell and Julianne Moore, wonderful scenes between him and his son in this movie. Just very touching and nice, and a lot of lighthearted, fun comedy that they touch on different situational stuff. So I think with that, we'll just kind of get into it here.
Yes, let's do it.
I wanted to quickly. Well, no, we'll talk about it as we get into the movie here. So we start out right away. We've got a restaurant scene in which Cal, who is Steve Carell's character, and his wife, Emily, Julianne Moore, are having just a nice dinner. And the first thing you see in this is couples at a nice restaurant, and they're kind of showing everybody's feet under the table. And some are playing footsie, it's kind of setting up as kind of a cute little romantic thing. And then we get to Steve Carell in his sweet dad white New Balance sneakers. So we start off right away. That is a tell me you're a middle-aged dad without telling me you're a middle-aged dad. The New Balance, I think, 407s or whatever they are, that's a perfect indication of who you are as.
Do you remember So now this is one. So I've watched this a couple weeks ago now, and I just wrote down the music was so good at the beginning of this movie, but I don't
Mhm.
remember what it sounded like. I just said it was really upbeat and happy, but it
Yep.
fit it's a chaotic first scene, and it really fit the scene well. But now that I'm
Mhm.
saying this, I don't remember at all what it sounded like. So
It's cutesy, upbeat music, and that's how with the visuals of people playing footsie under the table at a nice restaurant fits into that.
It's establishing a positive mood, but then they
Yes,
hit you with a ton of bricks.
they hit you with a ton of bricks. Cal and Emily are finishing their dinner and they can't decide what to have for dessert, so they say, "Well, let's just say it at what you're thinking at the same time." And of course, Cal, I don't remember what dessert he puts out there, but Emily says, "I want a divorce." And so that all comes crashing down. This nice date scene is thrown into chaos as she asks for the divorce.
and then we got our first utterance of the name David Lindhagen.
Yes.
Love
Is
that
it
name.
that early? Oh, that's on the car ride home, right?
On
Yeah,
the
they
car
talk
ride
about
home,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, and then
Yeah.
before he jumps
He
out.
doesn't talk about it though, right? He doesn't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
and she does, and he's just remaining silent, and he's so like blown away by it, as you would be,
Hmm.
and he just doesn't even want to talk. And then what was it that he actually finally asked her who it was, or she just sort of
No, she just
put
came.
it out there? She just put
She
it
just
out
put
there
it
that it
out
was
there.
him.
So she's going through her, basically just kind of having a uh, uh, run of consciousness about what she's going through and why she's looking for this divorce. And it comes out that she slept with a guy from her office, David Lindhagen. And of course, Cal doesn't want to hear any of it. He's not going to fight for his marriage. And so he decides, he says, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to get out of this car as she's driving. And he just opens the door and jumps
Just
out of the
rolls
moving
right
car.
out.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So while they're out at dinner, we meet Jessica, who is the babysitter,
And Robbie.
and she is going to be a pretty big part of this movie as well. And we see her looking at a picture of Cal and Emily, and this is the first indication that she has a bit of a crush on Cal. She looks at a picture of the two of them and covers up Emily's face with her hand and looks at him in a longing look. She's a senior, I think. She's 17 in high
Mhm.
school. And
Yeah.
we get the first indication that she has an affinity for Cal, but Cal and Emily's son, Robbie, he's in his room during this moment, and Jessica walks in on him while he's doing
What Brad was doing 5 minutes ago on this
what a
episode.
what a 13-year-old boy tends to do in his room with the lights off. He's working one down,
But he says
and
it's okay because he thinks of her while he's doing it.
right. So you have this poor
You got to give
babysitter.
credit to how forward this kid is,
Yes, this
Oh
because
kid has
yes,
no fear.
no,
most,
he
yeah,
is
yeah, exactly.
he is Farmer Ted. Basically, he just goes for it. He just lets you know what's going on. So right
Yep.
away, we're brought into this relationship where Jessica is infatuated with Cal, but Cal's son is infatuated with Jessica. So that is a running theme throughout this movie as well. So Robbie, right away, again, like Brad said, tells her that not only does he think about her while he's doing this, but he also Ted Mosby's it and tells her that he loves her. And she is just mortified, as she should be. So now we meet Hannah, who is at this point we just meet Hannah and her friend Liz, and they are out at a bar having a nice time. We find out that Hannah's a little more tame, I think, as far as her conquests and what she's looking for. We find out that she would have sex with Conan O'Brien. She finds him very attractive, very sexy. We find out that the man that she's dating, Richard, who turns out to be Josh Groban
Josh Groban.
in his film debut, is not an exciting fellow. In fact, her friend Liz refers to him as human Valium. And this is where we meet Ryan Gosling's character Jacob for the first time. He's been sitting at the bar watching Hannah, and we get the slow motion intro where he's walking across the bar with the cool music in the background, and he just walks right up to Hannah, and it's pretty apparent that he is, a playboy, a ladies' man. I compared him to Barney Stinson,
I thought the same thing. It was
except that he
exactly
is
Barney Stinson.
a much more successful Barney Stinson.
Yes.
So he lays it on pretty thick with the pickup lines. Hannah is really not interested at all. On the other hand, her friend Liz she would jump him right there and then. Let's be honest, he looks pretty good. I'd jump him right there and then.
Well, and she might not be that interested, but their chemistry is pretty great right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And his line that, I think your friend here is sexy, and then she says something on a double negative, and he says, "You're a double negative."
Right. Well, and he finds out that she's studying to be a lawyer, so he uses all the, permission to approach the bench and, objection, and he is pretty smooth.
Well,
but
one of the things that I think that why they wind up, not to give too much away, but the way that they wind up together at the end is that I think he's turned on by the fact that she is not all over him like all of the other girls are. Like all the girls are easy for him to score because he's Ryan Gosling.
Want to get out of here?
But not her.
Right.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Right, I completely agree with you. The chase is almost more fun than the capture, correct?
Right.
So here's a woman that rebuffs him, which we come to find out throughout the movie does not happen very often. And so she turns him down. She walks out of the bar. They head out. But we see Cal now. He's taken Jessica home, his babysitter home. And this is the first time we hear the mention of Nana. Cal just happens to mention, under his breath that, I got to call Nana. So when you hear that name, what do you think of?
A grandma.
A grandma. He needs to call his mom. Things are going bad. His wife just said that we need a divorce. So I believe that he, after he drops off Jessica, he goes to the bar, correct?
Yes, and he's not doing well. First of all, the babysitter called his wife batshit crazy in the car right to him, which is also pretty forward.
Yes.
But he's at the bar. He's not doing well. And then but there's just a short scene of it because then he's at work and his boss laughs at the divorce because he thought that it was cancer when he was going to tell him.
Yes.
And the news was not taken well and did not make Cal feel any better.
Correct. Yeah. He goes, no, not cancer, just my relationship.
And he's just laughing it up.
Yeah. Because everybody at work thinks it's just a divorce. It's okay. Everybody gets divorced. It's fine. But he is obviously crushed. His wife, his family means everything to him. So he's not
we
really...
find out later that's the only woman he's ever been with, too.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. Let me see. You jumped forward on me here. So Cal, of course, right away, like when he jumped out of the car, he's not fighting for this relationship. He told Emily he'll leave, give her the house. He'll go find an apartment while they get through the divorce. So there's an interesting scene between the two of them while after he packs up his U-Haul to move out. And they are just not on the same page. She is talking about having a midlife crisis.
Oh, she has a great line here.
Yep, she doesn't understand, she's just having a really hard time. And while she's basically pouring her heart out to him, he's talking about the lawn. He's talking about you gotta make sure to, the watering. If it's going to rain, you might want to turn off the watering. Got to clip the hedges. He is totally disconnected from anything that's going on.
He's shell-shocked.
He's just completely hurt. And Emily asks him, when did we stop being us? And his quick comeback is, maybe it's when you screwed David Lindhagen. So
I like
that's
before that though,
comeback.
her line, she was talking about how sad she was, and she said, "I went to see the new Twilight movie by myself. I don't know why I did that. It was so
it was so
bad."
bad. Well, and who's the main actress in Twilight?
Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, her and Kristen Stewart were in a movie together shortly thereafter as well. So I wonder how that went over. So we get back to Cal after he leaves, and he's at the bar again. And I like this scene where he's meeting his friend Bernie for a drink, and Bernie shows up, has a quick drink, gives him a bag, a Macy's bag with cologne in it, because he's there to break up with Cal as well, because Bernie's wife has told him that they're getting that Cal and Emily are getting a divorce, so they need to pick. His wife picked Emily, so Bernie and Cal can no longer hang out. So he basically breaks up with Cal as well.
Which is totally shitty in the sense
Right.
that because they're getting a divorce because it was the wife that cheated on him, and so he shouldn't have to give up his friends, but it was more complicated than that.
But you know how it is, in a marriage, if the wife says, we're picking this one over the other one, that's just the way it's going to be. So Cal proceeds to get drunk on his vodka cranberries.
He's a cuckold.
With which I thought was funny because that's what Courtney likes to drink. Yes, and he uses the word cuckold over and over and
I'm a
over,
cuckold.
telling anybody within earshot that his wife has cheated on him with David Lindhagen, and he is a cuckold. And while this is going on, Jacob.
Pete, that makes me think of Ellie's story, though, too. You little cuckold. On the freeway. So but Gosling overhears him saying cuckold about 50 times.
Yes, and finally is fed up with it, calls him over to his table and makes him a deal. And he tells him that...
Well, before that, though, he says, "I don't know if I should help you or euthanize you."
and he tells him that he needs to quit drinking his drink out of that little straw because it looks like you're sucking on a tiny schwanz. Which actually comes into play a little later in the movie.
Yeah, he likes schwans.
Like schwans?
Schwanz.
So basically, Jacob makes him a deal. He says, first off, you're wearing the wrong size suit. You got a supercuts haircut. And says basically offers to make him over, and that if Cal agrees to go with him, that his wife will rue the day that he ever gave up on him.
That's a good line.
And that's very appealing to even the mild-mannered Cal, who is obviously very hurt at this point. So he is in. He's going to go on this ride with Jacob and see where it goes. One thing I thought was funny in this conversation was Jacob asked him where he lost his manhood, and Cal says a good argument could be made for 1984. So we see Cal. He's moved into an apartment. He has the kids over at this point, and him and his son Robbie talk about love.
But he tells us, "Your mom wants you to stay here while she's out hooking."
Yes. He is very bitter. There's no doubt about that.
That's good.
So we see Cal. He takes off for the mall to meet up with Jacob for his makeover. But as he passes a restaurant in the mall, Hannah is having a party in the mall restaurant with her beau, Josh Groban, and all his coworkers. And did you notice that all of his coworkers were drinking out of the straws?
No, I did not.
Okay, so that was much like Cal back in the restaurant. So Hannah has to take the bar exam, so she's leaving the law firm she's working at to go study. And Richard tells her that once she passes the bar exam, they're going to have another party, and there's going to be a big announcement. So Hannah, of course, reads that as he's going to propose, which she is very happy with. She likes this humdrum guy, kind of like her dad, which you don't know is actually not Cal. But anyway, you find that out later. So she thinks it's great. So now we flash back to Cal meeting up with Jacob at the mall for his makeover. And right away, he goes into his New Balance 407s, asks if he has a foot problem or if they're orthopedic or whatever, throws his shoes away.
Just throws them over the balcony.
Over the balcony.
And then
Over the
People down there.
Yep. So Cal's got to walk through the mall the rest of the afternoon in just his socks.
Well, then he finds out he has a Velcro wallet, and Gosling just starts to walk away from him.
Right. The reaction of like he recoils. Jacob like recoils from him and like puts his hand over his mouth and is so embarrassed and disgusted by this Velcro wallet. But we also see throughout this scene where Jacob's, he's in control and he slaps Cal,
Yes.
in a loving way, not in a necessarily a mean way, but that comes into play later as well.
He also tells him he has a mom butt.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And of course, the famous line, "Be better than the Gap."
Yes. Yeah, they're jean shopping, and Cal says, "I have jeans. I'm good. I got these at the Gap." And Jacob just takes off, and he's just
Starts
so
walking away
disgusted.
again.
Yes. Cal, be better than the Gap. So Cal gets his makeover. He goes to a stylist, gets a nice haircut. He tries on a bunch of clothes, and I love this conversation between Jacob and the stylist, where he basically says, "What are you up to later?" And she goes, "I don't know." And, "I know what you're doing later." And Cal is just amazed that that works. Like, that's how you pick up a girl. That's all it takes. I would argue that's all it takes if you look like Ryan Gosling, who's dressed like Ryan Gosling and is this character. But still, it's the whole idea that, Jacob's trying to just show him that you just have to have confidence in order to, meet women and pick women up. And this is a great line in the movie where Cal comes out. He's got a new haircut, new clothes. He looks really good. Jacob asks if the woman would sleep with him, and she says yes. And he's just perplexed and says something stupid. And Cal says, "Well,
laughing."
Right." And Cal's like, "Well, that, you opened your mouth and now, she doesn't want to sleep with you anymore." And Cal says, "That's the meanest thing you've ever said." And Jacob's line, he says, "No, this is the meanest thing. Your wife cheated on you because you lost sight of who you are as a man, as a husband, and probably a lover." And that really cuts to the quick. I mean, that is, what Emily, it really comes down to. That's why she cheated on him. He
Probably
just
right.
kind of, fell asleep at the wheel, wasn't working at his marriage. So now that he's all made over, they head to the bar to start learning how to pick up women.
You want to get out of here?
Right. So Jacob asks, first off, "Cal, how many women have you been with?" And Cal says, "Sexually?" Jacob goes, "No, breakdance fighting." So, of course, Cal's answer is one. Him and Emily met at a very young age, and that's just, that he got married, and he's only ever been with one woman his entire life. So he was explaining to Jacob what was so great about her, and his line is, "She can be both wildly sexy and unbelievably cute at the same time." So we go into a montage of Jacob picking up women while Cal observes, and I love the part where Jacob uses that line on a girl, and of course it works. Mm-hmm. So it's just, and like Brad says, basically that's the last line he uses. "You want to get out of here." And every girl says, "Absolutely, let's go." And there's this great part at the end of it where this gorgeous woman, after they leave, gorgeous woman comes walking up to Cal. And, he's just got this smile on his face. He's so excited that this woman is going to talk to him. And of course it is the waitress, and she hands him the bar tab. Anybody remember what the bar tab was?
$837.
Yeah, right.
Yes. I look at that and I think, in all these movies where guys go up to girls and say, "Can I buy you a drink?" I always thought, well, that's kind of dumb. How much are drinks? Like, how long were they there that you could rack up
Well, I'm sure they're drinking the
$837?
finest, so
And it
Oh,
was one of these upscale places,
yeah.
again, like LA Story.
mhm. Oh my
You
God.
can't have the duck.
I couldn't believe it. How much money has this guy spent since he split with his wife with the whole wardrobe upgrade and going to the bar all the time? He's got an apartment he's paying rent on. Man, he's got to be cashed out almost. So we flash to Emily at work, and she's in the copy room making copies of the book Divorce for Dummies. And this is where we first meet the infamous David Lindhagen, played by the incomparable Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Yes. So they, of course, talk. She doesn't really want to continue to, have a relationship with him because, it's throwing her life into, chaos. But, he's a nice guy. Like he said, he wakes up in the morning and he looks forward to going to work, and that doesn't happen to accountants. He asked other accountants. He checked. That doesn't happen to anybody. But
Yeah,
he
other than the
is
fact that he'll sleep with your wife, he's a nice guy.
right. Correct. That
Let's
is
just
yes.
throw that in there.
Yes. We see Robbie in his English class, and they are studying the Scarlet Letter. And Robbie is called upon to get up in front of the class and talk. And his argument is because, again, things aren't going well with Jessica. She doesn't return his texts. And he says that the A, the infamous Scarlet Letter A, stands for asshole because love is dumb. And he goes on this rant. I don't know how many times he uses the word asshole, and he's in middle school. That's not going to fly in front of the teacher.
I wrote down about 8 times, but I don't know if I was just guessing.
Was it? Yes,
I
probably
don't know,
somewhere around there.
but it's about right.
So Emily has to go pick him up at school because he's in the principal's office and head back to her office for the rest of the day. And this is where Robbie
He gets to meet David Lindhagen.
gets to meet David Lindhagen. They have a bit of a heart-to-heart. I like the scene where so David comes into her office to talk about something, probably nothing about work. He just wants to, see her and talk to her. And she's got to head out to go grab something, leaves Robbie in the office. And he actually walks out, but then thinks, you know what? I'm a cool dude. I'll go back and talk to the kid. So he comes back in, sits down on the couch in her office. And Robbie turns around in his swivel chair. And I love the power move of raising his chair up so that he's
Yes, I
higher.
love that move.
That is just so great. And Robbie, he holds his own. He tells him that my dad is better than you, and he'll get her back, and you have no shot. He definitely represents the family in that conversation. Did you guys have anything to say about that?
No.
Oh,
No, I don't think so. You covered
So-
it really well.
Emily and Robbie are talking about how things are going with Cal because Emily obviously isn't seeing Cal, but Robbie says that he's going out a lot, but his dad is sad, and this makes Emily start thinking about Cal again, and maybe thinking about how things were. We see this great scene of Cal and Jacob at the gym, and Jacob's basically giving him his manifesto about how men are better, and it's all the war of the sexes, and women are just there for our pleasure. There's a great scene in a steam room where Jacob is naked with his leg up on the bench that Cal's sitting on with his
Oh God, that was
with
good.
his schwanz right in his face. And of course,
Schwanz.
it's too hot in there for Cal, so he passes out and basically passes out right
Lands
into
right in
Jacob's
his
crotch.
schwanz.
Yes. Oh my God, so good. So now we get to a bar scene with Jacob and Cal, and now it's time for Cal to start talking to girls. And
He got Miyagi'd.
he got Miyagi. Basically, Jacob starts telling him, like, how do you pick up a girl? And Cal just says, you ask about them, you buy him a drink. And, from all this time of watching Jacob pick up women, he basically got Miyagi'd, so he knows, what to do now. So they pick out a nice girl for Cal to hit on, and it turns out to be Kate, played by Marissa Tomei. And based on I loved what she was wearing in this scene. It almost looked like a formal dress from like a high school winter formal. All the women in this bar dress, so classy and everything, and she's got like ruffles on her sleeve, but yet she's, showing off her cleavage. A little older for the crowd that's normally in there. So the whole first move you do when you go to pick up a woman, according to Jacob, is, anyone? Can I buy you a drink?
Can I buy you a drink?
So that's the first thing he does. He goes up to her, asks if he can buy her a drink. And of course, she refuses. And we come to find out the reason she's refusing a drink is she's been sober for 5 years.
This is after he's like, I insist.
Right,
And
yes.
he tries to go on and tries to push it on her.
Right.
And then she's like, I've been sober.
Right. So right off the bat, the wheels are coming off quickly. He tries to ask, she asks what you do. And the whole idea and Jacob's method is to always have them, talking about themselves. And so he doesn't answer her question, just keeps asking her what she does and keeps telling her that it's boring. And she gets fed up and she's about to leave. So he breaks every rule in Jacob's book for picking up women. He talks about his kids. He talks about his ex-wife. He talks about what he's wearing.
He complains that he has 18 layers of clothes on.
And it seals in all the juices. He's just sweating his ass off in his suede jacket. And, he tells her, like, I'm supposed to tell you that you're a combination of sexy and cute, but he goes into this whole rant about, how these clothes are so hot and, he's just absolutely miserable.
You're
and
just
at the end
come
of it,
on, shut up, man. Just shut up.
right. At the end of it, she looks at him and goes, you think I'm the perfect combination of sexy and cute? And he's like, that's what you took from that? So they head back to back to his place. And again, everything he says is wrong, but it just hits her just right. And the line that really sends her over the edge is he says, I want to show you off to my ex-wife and make her jealous. And it's over after that. I mean, she jumps his bones and, the rest is history. So we see them the next morning. She's leaving his apartment, says that he'll call her. Yep, for sure. And now we get into a montage of him at the bar, Jacob style, where he's just picking up women left and right. And everything has worked out perfectly for Cal as far as being able to pick up women.
That was what he needed. You just needed to get that first one, and it breaks the ice for him.
Yep.
And then all hell breaks loose. He's able to do anything. Gives him the confidence that he needs. And we move forward.
So did you notice that during that montage, one of the women that he's talking to is Janet from the Toyota commercials?
I did not.
Really?
Yeah. That was one of the women he was talking to. The other thing I loved is early on in the montage, he walks up to the bar to talk to a woman, and there's a guy sitting at the bar, like an older guy, balding. He's got like a golf shirt on, and he's drinking his drink out of the straw. So he's basically Cal from earlier in the movie. So I thought that was kind of funny. We also see Liz now at the bar. Same time that Cal's there, she calls Hannah up because Jacob's at the bar, and she chides him to come out and bang the hot guy. And of course, Hannah says, "No, I'm studying for the bar." To which Liz responds, "You should be studying his ceiling, and you should be studying the curve of his cut." And then it gets cut off. So Liz is she's hot and heavy. She's ready to go. But I absolutely I absolutely love Liz. So from here we move on. We're back to Jessica now. She can't figure out how to get Cal's attention as, the babysitter, the young girl. So she talks to a rather buxom classmate who gives her the idea that if you want a man to look at you anything other than a girl, you need to send him nude pics. Which, nowadays you hear about it all the time, use your smartphone. But she was using a digital camera and then had to print them off at home. I don't know, man. I would have been pretty worried about getting those pictures, off the family printer. So we also have Robbie, one last final hurrah. He professes his love for Jessica at her school in front of everybody in a big romantic public display, which she rebuffs again. And that's kind of the end for Robbie. She tells him that she's in love with another man, an older man, but doesn't tell him who it is, of course. And that kind of does it for Robbie. He's kind of off of Jessica at this point. We also see a dream sequence where David Lindhagen is over at Cal's place mowing his lawn, if you will. So that snaps him out of his dream, and he heads over to do lawn work at night. He has to get back there and just make sure everything's taken care of, and that comes into play again later. Let's see here. We got Cal and Robbie have a nice conversation playing catch, and Robbie's upset because this girl that he loves has rebuffed all his advances, but he knows that it's his soulmate. And Cal tells him, well, if she's your soulmate, you can't give up on her. You gotta go after her.
Not realizing who the girl is that we're talking about.
Correct. And the great thing about this scene is Robbie turns it right back around on him. Like, mom is your soulmate. You've said that. You need to fight for her. And that's where things start to turn back the other way, where Cal's not so interested in going out picking up randos, but now he's going to go back after his wife and try to mend things and put it back together. So we have parent-teacher conferences come along. Cal and Emily show up at the school, haven't seen each other since he moved out. Of course, he looks great with his new haircut and his new clothes, and she's very impressed. And they start to reminisce a bit, and you can tell that they are still sweet on each other, and not a lot of animosity there. They would really like to get back together. You kind of see that brewing. Until the teacher opens her door to have them come in for Robbie's parent-teacher conference. And
I was floored.
And who was the teacher, Brad?
Marissa Tomei.
That is correct. The first woman that Cal slept with after moving out. And I just absolutely love his expression. I believe, what did he say? He goes, "No way in hell," or something like that.
Well, and then instead of trying to run a conference, she just keeps grilling him, and he's trying to deflect, and she just goes crazy.
Well, and I love how Cal tries to play it off.
Confuses Julianne Moore. Like, she just has no clue what's going on.
Right, because you can tell that Emily can tell they know each other, and Cal goes, "Yeah, we've met before, like last year's conferences," and she's like, "We've met before." So she just absolutely has a hard time with it. So they talk about Robbie's rant on the Scarlet Letter discussion, and she keeps, of course, his word was asshole, and she goes, "Asshole, like a man that allows a woman to go downtown on him for 45 minutes because he's nervous."
In front of the wife.
In front of the wife. And she's, and obviously she's right to be mad. He said he would call and he never did. And of course he shows up to parent-teacher conferences and he introduces Emily as his wife. So as she's going on her rant here, Cal finally leans over to Emily and says, she's an alcoholic. To which Kate just completely loses it at this point, just screams them out of the room. And this is where they have, a discussion in which it comes out that Cal has slept with 9 women.
Well, but
Nine?
At first, though, she wasn't overly upset, right? Because she's like, well, I had David Lindhagen, so...
Kind of one for
But
one.
then he drops that and mentions that he's been with 9, and that doesn't go over well.
Right.
That pushes her over the top.
Well, what pushes her over the top is when Kate says, tell her she's the perfect combination of sexy and cute. And of course, that was, the way he described his wife all those years. And that was kind of the bullet to the heart for Emily. That he would use that line to pick up a woman for a one-night stand. So I thought this was kind of funny as they leave the scene. It just starts pouring rain, on our hero's head. And I like that Cal goes, what a cliche. Like, the fact that it is a cliche in a rom-com that our hero is, down in the dumps and it starts raining cats and dogs on his head. So during this rainstorm, Hannah now is back at the restaurant with her law firm friends. She's past the bar. And Richard is throwing this party, her boyfriend. And the big announcement is that they are offering her a full-time position at the law firm.
Not quite the same as the proposal.
Right. So Hannah, she has a bit of an issue with this. Tells Richard, I thought you were going to propose. And his response is, I need a little time. I don't see, I'm not sure if that's where our relationship is going. And of course, Emma Stone is, way hotter than, Josh Groban in this situation. Like, he should, jump 2 feet in if she wants to get married. So she, of course, loses her mind and storms out of there. And
straight to Ryan Gosling.
Straight to the bar and finds Ryan Gosling. He's hitting on a chick. She doesn't care. She runs right up to him and just plants a big one right on him and says, let's get out of here.
Well, and then she says they're going to bang.
Right.
And he goes, are people still saying bang? And she goes, oh, I do. We're going to bang.
We are going to. So I love that, they get back to his house. And again, this just mansion of a place. And he's got the perfect music. He's mixing drinks. And of course, she's had time to cool off at this point. And he gives her a drink. I believe it's an old fashioned. And she just completely downs it, chokes it down, does not care for it, grabs his drink, downs it again. Because she wants to, get drunk and carry through with this crazy, wild sexual encounter, while at the same time still having, her kind of innocent way about her. She's not a one-night stand kind of gal.
She's only 17, right?
No,
she's older. She's
no.
Yeah, she's
Hannah's
older.
older.
No, that's right. I got the 2 girls, but she's still young. She was like 20, like early 20s.
Correct.
That's right.
So she keeps asking, Jacob, how does this work? So she tells him, well, why don't you take your shirt off? So of course he takes his shirt off and he's just complete, ripped titty, and her response is, fuck. It looks like you've been photoshopped. And of course she has to go over and start playing with his abs. And which he is just like, what is the deal with this woman? She won't stop talking. So she asked him, what's your big move? How does this finish up? How do you get me into the bedroom? So he confesses to her that his big move is that he works
dirty dancing into the conversation.
Pete, you and I mean, we love that right off the bat, right?
Yep, absolutely. Works every time.
Mm-hmm. So he works dirty dancing into the conversation. He tells the girl that he can do the big climatic lift at the end of Dirty Dancing. And then after he does that, the girls pretty much want to go to the bedroom. So they go for the lift. And of course, she runs, jumps into his arms, and he picks her up and lifts her. And she pretty much wants to go to the bedroom directly after after that happens.
Just like he said.
All right. A fun little side note here. I found a little bit of trivia on this. When they did that scene, Emma Stone didn't realize she had a phobia to being lifted in the air, and she had a full-on panic attack as soon as he picked her up. Because when she was younger in gymnastics, she had fallen off the high bar and broke both of her arms. And so she had a full-on panic attack. So when you see the girl being lifted, that's a body double. But those screams you hear, they actually used her legitimate reaction to being lifted up in the air.
Wow.
Yeah. So they head to the bedroom, and things are getting hot and heavy. But of course, Emma Stone, in her innocent way, she just can't stop talking. And they just continue to talk. We find out that Ryan Gosling has basically, he's got all this money that was left to him by his dad, who died. He buys things to try to fill the hole in his life.
He's addicted to the Home Shopping Network.
Yes, he is. He has. He's a big Brookstone guy. He has the massage chair in the garage. But they just have a wonderful evening of just talking, getting to know each other, and real personal conversation. And of course, nothing happens that night. It is the PG version of the evening that she was not looking for. She wanted the R-rated version. But in the end, they just have a very nice conversation, and you could tell that's kind of what Jacob was looking for.
This is the reason, again, part of the reason he fell in love with her, because he could just talk to her, and it wasn't just about sex.
Yeah, even though that's
like
what he does in his life.
Hundreds of other, but
So now we hear Cal. He's calling Jacob, looking for him. Wants to go out with him. But he is officially off the market now that he and Hannah are together. There's a nice scene where he is back at his house at night. I think he's aerating the lawn and trimming the hedges and everything like that. And he's just kind of watching Emily and the kids in the house. Kind of a sweet scene. And then his phone rings, and it's Emily calling him, and he's watching her from the backyard, and she makes up an excuse that the water heater's out and she doesn't know how to relight it, the pilot light, and so he walks her through it. But just a very sweet scene of, obviously she just wants to hear his voice, wants to reach out, she's missing him. And of course he's very kind and says please call anytime with anything like that.
There was one great line before this scene where she had taken Jessica home for babysitting. She tried to pay her.
Oh, yeah.
Because you should get paid. And Jessica throws the money back at her and says, I don't want your slutty money.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I kind of skipped ahead there. Sorry about that. So that was...
that's all. Keep going.
That was after a date with... Well, it comes into the magical scene. Emily and David go on a date. Again, nice date. But Jessica interrupts them when they get back to the front door. So they, can't have their good night kiss. And that's when Jessica says, runs out of there. She doesn't want her slutty money. And she heads back to her house to take the nude pictures that she wants to send to Cal. And she takes these pictures and puts them in an envelope. And with, she, drew Cal on the envelope and tucked it away in one of her dresser drawers for later. So Cal, he's all in after seeing Emily call him, and he goes with the kids to Lowe's, and he puts together he has a project he's going to put together, and so he builds a mini golf windmill thing in the backyard at the house. He has Robbie and the younger sister there, and Emily's blindfolded as Robbie brings her in the backyard, and Cal's about to profess his love again for his wife, And this is the beginning of the magical scene because Emily says, well, you should wait till your daughter gets here for this. And this is when we find out that Nana, who's been mentioned a couple of times throughout the movie, is actually Hannah. And Hannah is bringing over her new boyfriend to meet Emily for the first time. So we have Jacob walking in behind Hannah. Cal's there. He is absolutely mortified that his daughter is dating Jacob because he knows what kind of womanizer he is.
Jessica and her dad are on the way over because they found these pictures.
Yep.
And he's on his way over to kill Cal.
Jessica's mom finds the pictures in her wardrobe, and when she looks at them, what does the mom say? For JJ. She's like horrified that her little daughter's vajayjay is on these pictures. So yes, Bernie, he's on the way over to Cal's because he's going to kill Cal because, his daughter's sending him pictures. So as
Cal's totally innocent in this situation. He doesn't even know that there's anything going on with her.
So Cal is telling Hannah to break up with Jacob. While all of a sudden Bernie comes flying out of nowhere, tackles him. He's going to start.
He's got no idea why.
Right, no clue why. Jessica's hot on his heels, trying to calm her dad down. So as Bernie's about to hit Cal, Jacob walks over, grabs Bernie, gets him off of Cal. Bernie punches Jacob. We've got all this stuff going on. So Jessica tells her dad he doesn't even know that, I did these pictures. And so...
Oh, this is great because she says he doesn't even know I'm in love with him. And Emily goes, you're in love. And then she goes, oh, because then she puts the whole thing together of why Jessica hates her so much.
Right.
And the way she delivers that line is perfect.
It's so great. Yeah, she understands I don't want your slutty money deal and you're batshit crazy. So, of course, Robbie is there. He sees this unfolding and that Jessica's, the older man that she's in love with, is in fact his dad. It dawns on Cal that Robbie is the one, his love interest, his soulmate is Jessica. So this is all coming to light in front of everybody. And just at that moment, just to top the whole scene off, who shows up?
David Lindhagen.
None other than David Lindhagen, returning Emily's sweater from the date they had a couple nights before.
And Gosling walks up to him and says, you're David Lindhagen? And then just punches him right in the face.
Takes his ring off, punches Lindhagen.
You hurt my friend or something.
Yep. So he punches Lindhagen. Cal runs over, grabs on to Jacob because he's mad he's dating the daughter. Bernie runs over, grabs on to Cal because sending, his daughter's in love with him. Lindhagen gets up, grabs onto Jacob, and they're all kind of scrumming around, and I don't even know you. And Jacob's got some line about, what are you grabbing? Like, it's just a scrum, and they fall to the ground. But it's such a magical scene where all of these pieces finally come together in one place, and it's all brought to light of what is going on and who loves who and who's chasing who. And it's a phenomenal scene. Every time I watch that movie, I watch it twice. I love that scene that much. I rewind it and watch it again.
Well, this is a moment where Cal turns because he tells Hannah to leave and he turns into a real jerk. And so you kind of have sympathy for him for most of the movie because his wife cheated on him first. But as you watch it, he's ruined himself enough that you lose all your sympathy for him now. And the movie does a great job of playing that relationship really fair. You don't hate her.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And you don't hate him, but then, and at different times you go back and forth and they both screwed up, and it really does a nice job with that.
Right. And as he's leaving his backyard, he tells David, she's all yours. That's a dick move.
Yep. It's not good.
Yeah.
So this is, about 25 minutes left in the movie. This is your downturn in the movie. Cal's mad at Hannah for dating Jacob, so he's not talking to Hannah. He's not talking to his wife. Robbie's mad at that Jessica loves Cal, so he's not talking to his dad, even though his dad really had nothing to do with Jessica. You see Jacob trying to get Hannah to call Cal, and
Yeah, he's really a good guy.
yep, and he really is.
And he tries to convince Cal that he's a good guy and that he's a game changer. And Cal says, "I'm never going to give you my approval."
Mhm.
And Jacob's response is, "You're a good dad, Cal."
Yeah, because
Like
like Cal said, I've seen too much.
Mhm.
I've seen you in action. I know, like I've heard your manifesto about men and women. But Jacob is trying to be the one to bring this family back together. And you really see a changing in the whole dynamic between Cal and Jacob. In the beginning, Jacob's the ladies' man, and Cal can do nothing but learn from him. But at this point, Jacob's the guy who is in a serious relationship. He loves one woman, and he's looking to Cal for advice. He's looking for his blessing.
It's the tables have turned between
Completely.
the two. Now
Yeah.
he wants to be in his shoes.
Yep. So we go to the final scene of the movie. It's Robbie's 8th grade graduation, and Robbie has to give a speech at this graduation. And during his speech, it becomes obvious that he is very jaded. He's going to give this whole long speech about how love sucks, everything's bad. And Cal interrupts him, stops him. And I love when he gets up and tells him to stop, that Jacob's reaction of, oh boy, like, God, what's going to happen now?
Well, and Cal, when he stands up and stops him, he stops himself for a second too and goes, "Oh shit!" like he's real. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm in trouble now.
And as he comes down through the crowd, Kate is sitting next to the principal, and she whispers something to the principal, which is basically, yeah, that's the guy who had the one night stand with who never called me. And of course she flicks Cal off with the old flicks him off. So he gets up there, and Cal gives just such a touching speech about your soulmate and how you can never give up. He talks about the first time that he met his wife and the first date they went on. The line here that I love was that he went on a date. They went out for ice cream, and after he came home, he was talking to his dad, and his dad was giving him a hard time about, you're gonna, she's the one. And he says, no, Dad, I'm gonna be going on lots of dates, throughout the years. And his line was, that's the first time I ever lied to my dad, because he knew that she was going to be the one.
She was the one
forever, and that if it's your soulmate, they are worth fighting for. And then, of course, Robbie takes that cue and professes his love to Jessica once again in front of a gym full of people. And at this point,
it's great, and she even laughs. She
Jessica
thinks it's
laughs.
so cute.
Yep, she thinks it's cute, and that's outstanding. After the ceremony, everybody's outside talking, and Cal tells Jacob that he has a gun.
And he's prepared to shoot you in the face with it.
Right.
And then he slaps him twice.
Yes.
Just like Jacob slapped him. That was a great move.
That was great. And Hannah, of course, goes, oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
To see her man and her dad. But again, I mean, what else are you going to do as the father? He just tells her, take care of her, be kind. We see Emily and Cal talking, and Emily says to Cal, "Yeah, it's
so good.
It's been a really rough year." And Cal goes, "How so?"
That's so good. That was perfect. Before that, Jessica also gave her picture to Robbie.
Yes, that were meant for Cal. Yep. Which I thought was a little strange.
Yeah, but he's already doing it anyway, so
right. So now he's got some visual aids for his wank, for his spank bank, I guess.
The how so line is awesome, but then the last line of the movie is fantastic too, where she tells Cal, "I'm really glad you bought me that ice cream."
Mm-hmm.
And that's so good. And then it ends. That's it.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect finish.
Yes. There's so many funny lines, but so touching.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a great movie. Like Brad said, he would have picked it if I didn't. I just thought it, I'm glad it would have been covered at some point this month. So,
Well
It was my
done.
second
Great pick,
choice.
Gifford.
well, and Pete, as the first time viewer, thumbs up.
Yeah,
did-
absolutely. Two
Okay.
thumbs up.
Did you have your wife watch it, Pete?
No, she hasn't.
Oh my God.
We were struggling to find time, and I had to get it done because we had to get this episode done.
That's correct.
And
That's
so,
all right.
no,
There's
she
not enough
hasn't watched
action
it.
in it for her anyway.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Maybe if there's a scene where
She
Jason
would like
Bourne
it, though. I
drives
did
a
tell
Mini
her
through
she
the
would.
through the school parking lot, maybe she'd watch it.
Right.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I threw out a top 5. As manly men that we are, I figured we'd throw together a top 5 of our favorite rom-com movies. So
right.
I think I'll have Pete. You want to go first on this one?
We can. I
All right.
will go with my honorable mentions first, which I had just 3 honorable mentions, and then my top 5. I had Meet the Parents,
Mhm.
Love Actually, and Wedding Crashers, which I think you can consider
Yeah.
Wedding Crashers a rom-com. I don't
I'd
know.
give you that.
I found it to be a little bit more subjective, and I searched a number of sites, and all of these that I found that were kind of controversial were considered rom-com movies
Well,
by
I
other
agree. Some of the
websites.
ones listed were kind of crazy, and so I
Yep.
started thinking about it, and like some movies I think are more straight
They are.
comedies that I wouldn't include because I got to narrow it down. And then
Right.
like there's one that didn't make my top 5 that's one of my all-time favorite movies, but I don't consider it a romantic comedy, but it's just my definition is very narrow on what that is, and
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's interesting to see what you guys might have picked.
Yes.
So now we do get into my top 5. My number 5 was Groundhog Day. Princess Bride, number 4. Coming to America. And then I had 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and the number 1 with a bullet is When Harry Met Sally. To me, no other movie comes close as far as rom-coms as When Harry Met Sally. My opinion.
Yeah.
Good pick.
So yeah, like for example, Coming to America is a movie that I love, but I didn't put it in my list because I consider that to be more of a straight comedy, but it with a romance. But it is really, I mean, it's totally fits as well. So
Yeah.
that's how I narrowed it. So like here's my honorable mentions. Like Jerry Maguire, I consider not
Oh,
really a
yeah.
romantic comedy, but it is.
Yep.
But it's
Yeah.
there's so much more. It's a sports movie and there's other stuff going on. I did not put The Princess Bride on my list because I just think that's everything. It's everything in one. It's the perfect movie, but I don't think of it as a romantic comedy, so it's honorable mention. I did have Groundhog Day on my honorable mentions. That could have been in the top 5. Pretty Woman I have as an honorable mention, which could have made the top 5. Although that one, I don't consider it as much of a comedy, even though I guess it really is. But
Oh, yeah.
it's where
Yeah.
I don't know. It's where you're trying to differentiate. And then my other honorable mention that could be on my list, but I just maybe haven't seen it enough times yet. But the few times I've watched it, this movie is amazing. And if you haven't watched it, you got to watch it. The Big Sick,
Oh,
Kumail
yeah. That's a good
Nanjiani.
one.
That movie is simply awesome. But I think I've seen it maybe 3 times instead of like 50 like these other ones. So,
Right.
but the 3 times I've watched it, every time it's like, wow, that is a great, great movie. All right, number 5. This is my kind of wild card, and we're going to talk about this in December. I have I Love You Man, which is more of a romantic comedy between 2 guys in a platonic way. So with you,
Okay.
it's not about a man and a woman, and it's not about
It's a
guys
bromance.
Yep.
who are gay in a romance. It's about 2 guys trying to figure out how to be friends, and it is a romantic comedy, and it is awesome. And when you see the end of it, you'll totally understand. That movie stars Jason Segel, and my number 4 is Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is
Aha.
another fantastic
Yes.
Yep.
Jason Segel movie. And those honorable mentions and those two could all intertwine. My top 3 are set in stone. Crazy Stupid Love, Love Actually, and The Goat, When Harry Met Sally, which
Yep.
is the first romantic comedy I saw and thought, wow, that's really awesome. And that's a great movie. And I've loved these types of movies ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
those three are in a league all amongst themselves that nothing could
Mhm.
match for me.
Sure. That's an excellent
Nicely
list.
done.
Well, I've only got a couple honorable mentions that haven't been said yet. Brad, I can't believe LA Story is not somewhere.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would qualify. Yeah.
That should be on my list or an honorable mention at least.
Yep.
It is a romantic comedy. My God.
Yes, it is. Sleepless in Seattle. That is, to me, is a great one. Yesterday. I love
Oh,
that
the
movie.
Beatles
Yep.
with Lily James. That is a great movie.
Yes, that's a great one. And The Wedding Singer is a great romantic comedy with Sandler and for
Drew
God's
Barrymore.
sakes, Drew Barrymore. Thank you. Everything else was mentioned. My top 5. One that wasn't mentioned, As Good as It Gets.
That's a good
With
movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Jack Nicholson and Keanu.
Yep.
No.
Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt. I
Yep.
was thinking of a different movie.
Yep.
But yeah, Jack Nicholson.
That's my number 5. My number 4, we've covered Love Actually. My number 3, Crazy Stupid Love. Number 2,
What do you have above those two, I wonder?
When Harry Met Sally.
Oh my God.
And my number 1, I did put it as a romantic comedy, and that's The Princess Bride. As Brad said,
Okay.
this is a perfect movie.
It is.
And it's all about true love. So, or to
You're right.
Blathe, whichever way you want to look at it.
Blathe. Oh my God. So yeah, that makes sense then.
So that was my number 1. When Harry Met Sally, it's like you said, Brad, like I think that was maybe the introduction for me to romantic comedies, and it is just so great. And I did watch it maybe 2 months ago again, and it holds up. It's perfect. It's really good.
Chicks and geese and ducks
Better
better scurry.
scurry when I take you.
Then you're singing "Sir"
All
with a
right.
fringe on top of it in front of Ira.
You know who else likes romantic comedies?
Preacher Row. That's who likes romantic comedies.
That is correct. That is correct. All right. Well, let's hear a little Preacher Row. Thank you, everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Watch out for David Lindhagen.
Standing on my own 2 feet. No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. And start to me on my back. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared but there's nothing I can do.